This episode is sponsored by Filmora. Noroi is a 2005 Japanese horror film, and is one of the most unique horror experiences I ever had. It's about a journalist investigating a series of paranormal mysteries, from missing children to occult rituals. At first, the film appears to be a series of unrelated scenes, each telling a separate horror story, but as the film progresses, all stories begin to converge, and by the end, it is exhilarating. Noroi is often referred to as a found footage film, which is fair. The entire framing device is that the journalist has gone missing after his investigations, and his unfinished film was found. But in practice, it feels nothing like any found footage film I have seen. In fact, it feels nothing like most horror movies. Noroi gives off this hard to describe mood. It feels realistic, it feels personal. Watching it is like walking down a hallway in my school at night. Instead of some imminent danger, I feel uncomfortable, and I don't know why. Today, let me dissect this film while keeping spoilers to a minimum. Let me find out exactly how it conveys its sense of dread, what makes it different from other found footage films, and what we can learn from it. This is Noroi, The Curse. At the start of the film, we get a quick primer. A narrator introduces us to our protagonist, horror writer and journalist Kobayashi.
彼は怪奇な出来事に関する証言を集め、不可解で恐ろしい現象を追求してきた。
Footage of his book is shown, along with photos and videos of his past investigations. Soon we learn that after Kobayashi's last case, his house was caught on fire, his wife was burned to death, and Kobayashi is mysteriously missing. We'll be watching the unfinished film made by Kobayashi. Right off the bat, it's very different from your usual found footage fare. How does the Blair Witch Project start? A quick text explains the situation, and the rest of the film is made entirely out of found footage. Cloverfield, same deal. Quick text primer, rest of the film is all amateur footage. But Noroi includes B-roll footage, scenes that are not part of the found video. We continue with Kobayashi into his first case, a case where a family hears strange sound of crying babies. Babies, plural, coming from their neighbor's house. As Kobayashi is about to enter the house, the film does a very professional sort of edits, where the audio of the next shot leads the image by a few seconds.
その気持ち悪い声っていうのはどんな感じの声なんでしょうか
It is perhaps more apt to say that Noroi isn't so much in a found footage format as much as it is a documentary, and that's the brilliant part. I always found the found footage format lacking in immersion. If paranormal activities actually happens in real life, it would have been heavily edited, spiced up with interviews and news footage, and other documentary flourishes. Fundamentally, I understand that real, raw footage like this just wouldn't appear in the cinema. The format is so synonymous with fiction, I have a hard time suspending my disbelief. But do you know what format I associate with reality? Documentaries. Noroi actually looks like something that would be in theaters, or at least on TV, with all the aforementioned documentary flourishes. Steady camera showing clean and realistic footage, excerpts from other TV shows and news, interviews with professionals, is condensed, is edited with no filler materials. We are so used to this format being non-fiction. When Noroi tells his story in the same way, it abused our habit. It hacks into our day-to-day experiences, fooling our emotional brain into feeling that what you are seeing is a true story. Now that's how you make it feel realistic. Before we go on, I'd like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Filmora. A few years back, I was actually tutoring a group of teenagers on filmmaking. For their post-production, I searched high and low for the perfect editing software, and I ended up choosing Filmora. Reason? Filmora is one of the most beginner-friendly, full-fledged editing software out there. With its clean and intuitive interface, importing, organizing, cutting, and trimming all feels like a breeze. It's easy to use, yet it does just as much as every other editing software I used. It even contains some pretty solid titles and effects. Not to mention, you can download a ton more great effects along with stock videos and audios over at filmstocks.com. My favorite thing about Filmora is just how supportive it is. The help button brings you to many detailed step-by-step tutorials, making your learning process as painless as possible. If you'd like to know more, check out the link in the descriptions. If you are interested in learning filmmaking, I recommend Filmora. After a failed negotiation with the mentally disturbed neighbor, Kobayashi has no choice but to leave. He then visits an audio expert who confirms that the sound coming from the neighbor's house is indeed the sound of crying babies. More than 5 babies. Kobayashi revisits the family, only to be told the neighbor has moved out and the noises stopped. With the case seemingly ended, Kobayashi says goodbye one more time. The camera freezes, zooms in, and a line of text telling us that the family of 2 died 5 days later in a car accident. Like in many documentaries, in this film, events happened in past tense.
この間小林さんが見えた後にすぐに、もう4、5日前なんですけど、引っ越したらしいんですよね。
Tell, don't show is a bold choice, and the film utilizes it constantly. We see the family describe the sound of crying babies. We hear the family tell us the neighbor moved out. We hear a friend tell us that their coworkers died in a mass suicide. None of them we saw with our own eyes. Even when we do see something, such as the demonic ritual, we see a recording of it and had to be explained by a local historian. Kobayashi, and by extension the audience, is not there. This creates an interesting mood, like everything is just a rumor, some kind of hearsay. And through this hearsay, the film unsettles us. Most horror films create mood by using terrors within our imagination. Seeing a killer standing in the distance, watching someone getting killed, for the vast majority of us, these aren't something we will ever experience. But many of us have heard news of those things. Death of someone, such as your friend's coworker. Most of us haven't seen someone sleepwalks, but we have seen videos of someone sleepwalks. And so, Kobayashi only sees the video as well. It relates to our own experience again. We know exactly how those events make us feel. We have the emotions inside us already. Real emotions for real events that we experienced. So when the film mimics those experiences, it is bringing the real emotion out, fooling us into thinking the film is real as well. Now, that's not to say the film doesn't show anything. There are creepy neighbors, creepy children, creepy house with a messy front yard that looks abandoned, dead animals, children's drawing, sick child with unknown ailments, unreleased episode of TV, people screaming in pain, and many, many more. It shows plenty of disturbing things, and I love how small the things are. As you'd expect, most, if not all of these elements are all day-to-day experiences we all share. Most importantly, they are all negative experiences, and they provide the main scare of the film. What are the elements you see used to convey horror? Hunted by a monster in your dreams? Hunted by a monster after you had sex? Hunted by a monster while struggling with depression? Hunted by a monster in the dark if your mom has depression? The same way we know found footage films aren't real, we also know monsters are not real. So whenever they show up, we are being reminded that we are watching a movie. And so Noroi opts to freak us out through much more mundane means. Car accidents, sleepwalking, or having a stroke. All possible in real life, but feels eerily cursed when happening in close successions. That something is wrong feeling. Now, the film does include other less believable elements. Early on, the film introduced this young girl who supposedly has psychic powers. But instead of showing Kobayashi meeting her in person, she was introduced through an excerpt of a variety show on TV, a film within a film. It adds another layer of separation to this fact, a third-hand account, if you will, making this girl and his ability feels even more distant. Like Chinese whispers, the more distance a rumor travels, the more exaggerated it becomes, thus justifying the supernatural elements. The film itself isn't fake, it's the TV show that's fake, like all reality TV shows are. In fact, this segment sensationalized itself pretty hard, making you question the show instead of the film. While keeping these horror elements realistic and distant, the film carefully arranges them, gradually increasing the impact. At first, it's just baby noises, and then it's a disappeared child, and then it's sleepwalking, and then it's a demonic ritual, and then it's group suicide. The journey down the rabbit hole is slow and steady. Each increase in intensity is small. If you are willing to believe one, you are then primed to believe the things that comes afterward. And by the time actual demonic curses appear, you are already primed to believe everything you see. Noroi is a unique horror experience. It may sound crazy to think a supernatural horror film is realistic. Indeed, in terms of realism, Noroi is nowhere near the top. But this film proves that what is real isn't necessarily what feels real. Can you persuade your audience that this is real? Does your audience want to believe? Most found footage movies failed to convince me, but Noroi did. Through the use of the documentary format, the realistic horror elements, and the unique investigative storytelling, the film builds itself up as something that requires very little suspension of disbelief from the audience. It engages with our day-to-day experiences, uncovers emotion that most of us don't realize we have, let alone understand how powerful these emotions are. These emotions lurk in the back of our mind throughout the film. It is so creepy and strange that even in broad daylight, the imagery remains sinister. Watching Kobayashi walking around this cursed village, it really does feel like I'm walking in the hallway of my empty high school at night again.